Hey guys, so every week I usually do a comic book review of the books that I'm reading, and I am going to do that. I'll post that on another video. But I wanted to do a quick video on a book that I just got in the mail from yesterday. It's this book here, Voodoo Nations. And Voodoo Nations is a 4-issue miniseries from Travis Gibb, Luke Stone, Alan Emanuel, and Jeremy Gagnon. I think that's how you say his name. But this is a Kickstarter project, and I was able to support them and was really looking forward to getting the book, and so I want to give kind of my feedback on it. Voodoo Nations is a story about there's this Christian missionary couple that go into to work among this people group, and you see immediately this relationship between them and this voodoo priest. And in particular, one focus of the book is the wife or the woman, and because her husband ends up dying tragically. And so you see her struggling with loss and struggling with temptation and struggling with losing her faith. And so it's a very powerful story. It's not just a kind of light, kind of Christian, like fluffy type story. It's got some depth to it, and it really challenges you. And for me, I really identified with the woman, because whether you're a Christian, whether you are religious or not, all of us struggle with loss on some level. All of us struggle with temptation, and all of us struggle with regret and decisions that can affect the rest of our lives. So there's a lot here that you can identify with regardless of your background, and I really appreciated that about the story. So I just want to share real quick 4 takeaways that I got from the book. Number one is this story does a good job of demonstrating the reality of the spiritual side of the world, right? So you see this contrast between the Christian missionary couple and this voodoo priest, and you see it a lot, not only just in the story, but there's allusions to it in the visuals. And so like one I can think of is towards the beginning, the voodoo priest, he rubs like dirt or clay on the forehead of the practitioners, or whatever you want to say, the people that are in his religion. And then with the Christian missionaries, you see they do they practice Lent, and so they do the same thing with the ashes, but they put the cross on the forehead. So it's just an interesting contrast there. And then you see loss, like the culture there experienced this loss with this flood that came in and killed a bunch of people. And then the voodoo priest, offered salvation and help and answers to their questions in the same way the Christian missionaries came doing the same thing. And what this is demonstrating is that not that all religions are the same, because some people may take that perspective, but instead to say that there's a very distinct difference between this voodoo priest and these Christian missionaries. And regardless of what you think of that, the reality is they're trying to tap into or dealing with the spiritual side of life, right? So it's something I think all of us wrestle with on some level. I mean, even if you're a hardcore atheist, like the reality is that there is more to this life than you can just touch and feel, right? I mean, even your thoughts, you can't measure that. You can't measure your emotions, your mind, your heart, the inner person. There's not a machine that can measure that. And so there's definitely something beyond this world, and this story is dealing with that from 2 perspectives, one from the Christian missionary side and one from the voodoo priest side. So I thought they did a really good job of showing that contrast between these 2 worldviews and just highlighting the spiritual reality that we all deal with in the world. The second thing that my second takeaway from the book is that it deals very well with the idea of the test of faith. And so you have this Christian missionary couple, and the wife deals with this great loss, and she is wrestling with her faith, even to the point of losing or renouncing her faith. And I think that's really helpful to see as a reader, especially if you're not a Christian or not religious or not spiritual. It's good to know that people of faith often really deeply struggle with their faith. And the beauty of Christianity is that it gives you room to do that, to be able to wrestle with, does God really exist? Does he really love us? Does he really care for us? Especially in the face of great loss like this character is dealing with. So I thought they did an awesome job with that. And to see, we get to explore as readers, we get to explore this woman who has renounced her faith and to see what the consequences are of that decision. So I think that's the power of fiction a lot of times, is that you can live out maybe something that you're tempted with and see what are the results of that. So that's the power of literature and fiction, and that's the power of this book. So really thought they did that well. The third thing is the power of temptation, right? So we all struggle with temptation regardless of who you are. And this book really showed how temptation works. So the woman loses her husband. She's faced with this incredible loss. And then the voodoo priest comes along and offers her the temptation of getting her husband back from the dead. And that's very much how temptation will work. It will play to your loss, or it will play to your frustration, or to your lack of something you desire, something you want. And it will always offer this kind of false promise that, if you just do this thing or take this thing or whatever it is, it will make you happy. The problem with those temptations is it does make you happy in the short term, but often the consequences you'll see later in the long term. And that's what a temptation is. It's a false promise. It's a promise of happiness, satisfaction, fixing a loss, and in the end, it doesn't. And so that's exactly what's going on here. She's dealing with this incredible loss. The voodoo priest comes and offers her a fix to that, a salvation, a false salvation, and you see her, unfortunately, fall to that temptation. So it was really good to see the power of temptation and how we all wrestle with that, especially in times of deep loss. And so I thought that was really good. The fourth thing is the terror of choice. And what I mean by that is there's a real thing called regret, and there are some choices, the consequences of which can never be reversed, right? And that's terrifying if you really think about it. Because, a lot of things we can do, we can make bad choices, we can make mistakes, we can commit sins, we can do things that can be reversed or forgiven or restored. But there are some decisions we make that the consequences are forever, and you can never reverse it, right? And she is making one of those decisions. And you see, especially on the very last page, there's a line at the very end where it seems pretty obvious that she's made this choice that she cannot come back from. And that's terrifying, when you think too, just on a very practical level, the idea of regret. I wrestle with that a lot. When I am 80 or 90 years old, if I get to live that long and I look back at my life and think, man, my time is coming to an end. Are there things that I did in my life that I can't change now because I don't have the time? It's like you really wrestle with that. And so to see her make that kind of decision, they did an awesome job with that, because now as a reader, you get to see what that's like and you get to live it through this character. So I'm pretty excited about that. And really, because of that last page, it really teases out and gets you hooked, because you want to see what happens with this woman and her decision, and what happens with the husband and their relationship. So I'm very excited to see what happens in the rest of the book. And so Voodoo Nations, really awesome. Wanted just to give a few minutes to give them a shout out, support them. I do want to say, I don't know Travis and I don't know Luke personally. I've maybe messaged them once or twice through Facebook, but overall, I've seen them a lot on Facebook, and they're always promoting and supporting other indie creators, and I really love that. And so I just wanted to take a few minutes and support them because of all the things that they do for other indie creators. So and Alan and Jeremy, I'm sure, do the same thing. I don't know them either, but overall, just want to say, awesome book. Good job, guys. It's Voodoo Nations. Check it out. There'll be the next Kickstarter. I think it's coming soon for the following issues. So that's it. Check it out, man. It's really good. Thanks.